what's up, good people? It's your girl, Doc Sunny, and you know what time it is. It's another Dope Chicks Spiritual Journey podcast. And I say it every week. I do say it every week. I am really excited every week about every single one of my sister friends that graces me with this conversation. And you all know I invite women who are everyday women who are doing powerful things and understand their divinity. This woman, there's not enough that I can say about her and how she transforms the world. But what I can say on a personal level, she has seen me. She has spoken over my life. She has coached me. She has built me up. And I didn't think of any better person to bring on this week to share with you. I call her my girl V, right? But I'm going to be respectful of her as a guest. And people know her as Valori Thomas, the possibilitarian, but I'm going to let her share more about herself. Valori, tell the people who you are.
Well, first of all, I'm excited and delighted to be here and share space with you always and to share information. I am let's just say, quite a few things, a daughter, a sister, but most of all, the space that I'm claiming is healer. Okay. And not in the way that is so readily thought of, right? Healing of others, right? Because that's a whole trajectory in itself. When I think about healer and claiming that space, I'm claiming it for myself, for all the iterations of me, for the evolution of me, for the up, the down, the in and out, because I believe part of our journey, our spiritual journey, is as much as it is to connect externally and share externally ourselves, it's the internal that we go from. Our core is where our spirit, our spark, our life
come on.
is, right? Yes. And so it's really the understanding and the maturity of that's the healing process, that in having that you can share and have impact with others in a way that's authentic and genuine. So I'm claiming that space for myself in this stage and age of my life. Healer, possibilitarian, but healer.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, you know, I shared this show is about dope women, divine, on point, prosperous, evolving. And I always like to jump in with, to me, what the purpose of this conversation is, you know, divinity. And I know your life story and parts of your life story. And I know that God has been an integral part of all of that. But share with, you know, our listeners and our viewers, like divinity, like where has God played a major role in your life where you could point to it and be like, yeah, that was the work of God?
My God points are, you know, and so those specific occurrences are what I call part of my healing journey, because those are the moments that character and principles are defined. Those are the moments that we are who we are based upon our choices, right? And, you know, I'm working on some stuff now because in this space and chapter of my life, I'm at a whole new place, and it's very reflective. So when I think about, so I'm very thoughtful about how I got here, the iterations of me, the evolution of me, you know, those pivotal moments that created, you know, me in this moment. And it was the challenging moments, the most challenging, when I didn't have answers. All that I did have a resource, a powerful resource that I had grown up with, and it was instilled into me that God is my Father. I believe in Jesus Christ. And when I can't call on anyone else, and I've, you know, had the misfortune of sitting in a jail cell, sitting on a cement behind bars and having no one to talk to, and only being able to call on God. And in those moments, the messages that were given that were so pivotal. Those are what I'm going to call my inner rituals.
Yeah.
That created, right, and sustained me to keep going and really develop my principle in who I am. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you said something really powerful and I want to kind of draw it out.
Okay.
When you say call on God, right? Because a lot of times people who have this conversation with me or people who are listening, in previous episodes, people say, oh, my spirit, my gut, I heard the voice of God, right? So I like for listeners to get like a practical application of what that means. So when you say, for you, when you said you called on God, what did that look like for you?
I sat in the question of the moment.
Mm.
And I sat with the not having the answers, fully in the question of the moment, and having a strong belief of a power greater than me that I was connected to, that I am, not was, that I am connected to. And no matter how often or frequently I engaged that source, because just in reaction to folks feeling like you have to have a relationship, so to speak, to have a conversation with your higher power, or however you label this power, we recognize it, right? But your conversation is relationship. You know what I mean? And if you haven't spent a lot of time curating a relationship, it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah.
You're not honored. It doesn't mean that the word of God does not apply to you because you haven't, invested in it in a way that has been, projected upon you.
Yeah.
It's not true.
I think it's so cool that you say that, because I think one of the main reasons why I told you I did this was because I wanted us to have conversations about God that people didn't feel intimidated by, right? That people, I think people get anxious, to your point, right? That when they hear relationship with God, they're either being drawn back to their childhood of this is the way it had to be done.
No.
And if it wasn't done this way, then you're not really having a relationship with God, right? And that this idea that somehow your relationship with God is has to be like, I got to talk to God every day. So when you said you called on God while in a jail cell, it pivoted for me like God is always there.
Everywhere. Everywhere. It's like possibility. It's like faith. It's like love. It's the thing that we focus on, the thing that we give our energy to, that magnifies and creates the tunnel vision for us. It doesn't mean it's not there. That's why, like, prosperity and abundance, I really believe in, but however, this is my faith, because I know that the only way that I'm still standing, the things that I have gone through, is because something greater than me that I'm connected to keeps flowing that force back in me. And giving me purpose and giving me reason. People say, well, I have trouble looking for my purpose. Your purpose is to keep breathing and to keep moving and to keep pursuing what it is that draws you, period.
Well, okay, I know that was a lot, but that's a good one. I always ask guests, when you say that one thing that I know is going to click for someone, right? Your purpose, say that again. Your purpose is to keep.
It is to be, period, right? You're like, you are purpose manifested. That is, your being here is purpose fulfilled. So in other words, you are walking, talking purpose. And your power of choice allows you to manifest your expression inside of your uniqueness. But in terms of what your purpose is, your being here is your purpose, and how you express that. You have a choice about it, but you are required for the balance of the planet, which is the only reason why you're here. And that's how the force our Father works. Everything that exists is in relationship and to elevate everything else, regardless what our perception is about it, because we have a limited understanding. If we didn't, we wouldn't be going through global warming and all this stuff that we're going through now. Can't figure out that we're just human beyond skin color.
So your spiritual journey, right? I'm hearing you and I'm thinking of, I keep here, like, you vulnerably shared about being on the cement floor behind bars. When you think of that time, that space, and the moment you called on God to today, how would you describe that spiritual journey?
Consistent. Guaranteed, unwavering, unfailing. It's a constant surplus supply.
Unwavering.
And, and taken for granted.
Ooh. Go, I want to hear that one. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because complicating measures when I've been given the words of work in conjunction with me. Give me your burdens. Give me your worries. Speak to me. That's how powerfully we're connected. You can speak directly to me and I'll hear you. And so running out of options, I mean, all options, that's what I was left with. And I leaned in like never before. And without any residue or guilt, well, here is who I am. Here I am, Lord. Right? And to be able to be here now, when you ask about the connection, it's always knowing that I have this superpower. That I can call on. I forget being a person of the world.
Yes.
The influences and technology and, fake news, whatever we make up, perception is a hell of a thing right about now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful because our perceptions will drive our behaviors, our moods, our interactions, our thoughts. And so, that's powerful. Perception is a hell of a thing.
However, they evolve all the time. They change all the time versus the staples that are in your life, the things that are non-negotiable, that are consistently there, that they're secure in your life. They're always abiding with you, right? That spirit, that divinity is something that is consistent. Very consistent. And so for me, in connecting, it's about remembering and calling upon this amazing resource that I have that was given to me, my birthright, to call on it because it's there and to be used in conjunction with me.
So what are your practices, right? Because you were able to call on God because there was a foundation there. There was something that was laid by your ancestors, whether mother, grandmother, that in that moment, there was something in your brain that said, you know what to do, and you called on God. But now, what are your practices like? What are the ways that you stay connected to God and your divinity?
Oh, well, I'm a nature-driven person. So like I commune and connect with God through nature. I'm a water person and I feel like it speaks to me. There's an energy, a texture, a flow. It's palatable.
Yeah.
Also in opening my eyes, it's having had an experience, with COVID that was pretty severe for myself, and still being here, there's this new nuance that happens, right? And so it's like being able to open my eyes and breathe in the morning. I have gratitude. Sometimes I get emotional because I had a moment when that was very iffy.
Yeah.
You know, so my normal rituals are like, when I open my eyes, thank you. Another possibility.
Amen. Amen.
Another opportunity to go at it.
How would you tell listeners and viewers to find their way of connecting, right? Because I think it goes back to what we said earlier. Some people have in their minds, this is how it has to be done, whether through tradition, right? What's been taught to them, and then they feel lost. So what, I know you help a lot of people with this. How would you recommend that people find what their connection is, how you found nature and water?
Like, get still. Like, declutter the noise. You know, and I'm very present to the self-talk that goes on in our head.
Yeah.
But being intentional about alleviating the noise and really getting still, right? A lot of things that we ruminate on are things that we worry about. And worry is a watered down version of fear. And fear means that we have more faith in the mishap than we do in the actual outcome.
Woo! That's another one.
So that's a place that you can like kind of catch yourself.
Yeah.
But still, when your head is running and your emotions are running, that's the time to get still, because there's a lot of competing energies all around you, internally, externally. It's time to get still, right? And as you get still, there's always the center that comes through. There's always that knowing that comes through. And that's your divine connection. And everybody has it. I don't care how you label it. I don't care what you call it. You can call it your subconscious, but there's a difference between your subconscious or your, you know, however, whatever that term is, and talk, because the self-talk is very critical. Yes. The self-talk is very matter-of-factly. The self-talk is all hung up in circumstances. And if you were to remove your circumstances from the possibilities in front of you, you could see your way clear.
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm reading a book right now, and one of the things the author was saying is that we're only born with 2 fears. All the other fears that we have in life, we learn. Isn't that something? We learn them. And basically he was saying, if you've learned it, you can unlearn it.
Hard to do.
It's hard to do. And he was saying that it's easier to absorb negative thoughts than it is to introduce that new emerging wellness thoughts.
Yeah, because you have no reference point.
But God.
I'd have a lot of evidence around the negativity you've seen. If you haven't experienced, you've seen it, watched it, observed it on some level, been told it on some level, right? If not experienced it personally. But that new thing, right? You know, I often equate to like, do you like surprises? Some people don't like to be surprised, but a lot of the majority of people like love to be surprised. It's the same thing. Only difference is what your expectation that you bring into the table, or I should say your perceived perception.
Yes.
Your perceived perception around it, right? Because what's the difference between like a surprise and opening what, you know, and seeing what's behind door number 3?
Could you imagine if we started looking at life like that? It's funny because one of my daughter's favorite shows is Let's Make a Deal, right? And so on Let's Make a Deal, you know, it's door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And people are there just basically taking risks and taking chances without like concern of harm or something happening to them. And when you're talking, everything that you're saying about the calling on God, staying connected, you know, these perceived perceptions, it's all to me linked back to what do you see behind the doors before you've even opened the door?
You know, there's a story, it's a fable. There's a story, and I don't know if I can try to tell it, but it kind of goes like this. It's an old fable story, and it talks about a king, and that you know, there were some prisoners that were taken for stealing, and before they were going to the guillotine, right, or to be hung or to be beheaded, they would have to be, you know, walk before the king and plead their case. And so, you know, the king would give options, right? He would listen to them, and he would give them two choices, right? You could either take what's behind the door in front of you. And so now the door, you know, we're thinking about medieval times. The doors are very big, heavy, smoky looking, all that kind of stuff, not so appealing and so forth. And these conversations usually took place in the dungeons, because these folks were about to be, you know, their lives were supposed to be ended. And so he would hear the case, and he would say, you can either take the rope, right, or you can take the door, right, or you can take the guillotine, or you can take the door, right? And so and always people would take the rope or the guillotine. They never chose the door.
Sure.
One person, right, said, well, you know, had already chose the rope. He said, well, just for the sake of it, right, what if I had asked the king, what if I had chose the door? What have happened? And the king sat back and laughed. He said, you know, I offer it to everybody, and nobody takes it based upon appearance. What's behind that door is freedom. And so the whole moral of the story, right, is where you don't have a lot of evidence. And, you know, there's another way to look at it versus it being daunting.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they have the evidence of what was the rope. They had evidence of that. So it's like, could it be much worse than that?
That you know is better than the devil that you don't know, right?
Or at least that's what we've been taught, the erroneous teachings like that we've been taught, that have us not actually putting our faith and trust in God, right, to see what's behind the door. And to know that
choice is key for me, right? Because I'm all in language. You mean I got a choice? There's a possibility.
There's a possibility. There's a possibility. You know, I'm moved by our conversation because I can see how you've lived this thing, right? And not that it's been easy.
Not at all.
Right? But that you've walked it out in tough times. And I think a lot of our viewers, particularly during these times, right, people are walking out some difficult transitions, situations, losses, changes. And hearing you, it's like, yeah, you got to call on God. Like, there has to be a point where you stop and you say, this isn't working for me. I don't know how to get out of this.
Yeah. It's when you have the lessons, you've been taught right from wrong, and you end up in some places anyway. And you don't have options. What do you do then? And if you don't, you know, have that belief, I know that you're calling on something, or you're calling on your inner self, your inner spirit, because spirituality looks different based on people's context.
Yeah.
But then if you have no one else to call on to, you are definitely communing with yourself in a raw and authentic way, because you have to. You've got to generate, you've got to figure out. And all that comes from your will and your spirit. So if it's not a higher power, right? If it's not God sitting in a tough time, you're actually sitting there saying, what is my next move going to be?
Mm.
And can I do it?
Mm.
And while you sit there and continue to breathe, the answer is right in front of you.
Keep breathing. Keep breathing, right? Every breath.
Every breath. I'm still
Every breath.
still here. So I'm gonna have to figure this out. What's the first thing? And then the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't call on God, that right there will build your spirit, and you will build a relationship, because in those moments you know that you were connected to a strength that pulled you forward.
That pulled you forward.
To a power that pulled you forward.
So before we go, just 2 big takeaways for you, that when you think of your journey and how God has transformed, leveled, moved, evolved your life, what would you tell someone else that may be in a situation where they're like, I am in a type of cell, right? It may not be a jail cell, but I'm in a cell and I feel trapped. What do I do?
And so what I immediately want to say is release yourself, but then what does that mean?
Right.
Right. And to release yourself is to really get with yourself in a way that you are fine-tuning your truths.
Okay.
Fine-tuning your truths. What's true for you?
Mm-hmm. So when you say that, do you mean kind of being honest with yourself about what is and what isn't, so that you can fine-tune the truth about you?
That's excellent. That's
okay.
Excellent. Because we, how would you navigate?
Mm-hmm.
What would be your process?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about it, I'm thinking about, well, what's true for me in this moment?
Right.
As well as what I require in this moment.
Yeah.
And then what's required of me.
What's required of me. It's funny because one of my guests, Tenora, on her episode, that was one of the things she said. She said, I ask myself, who do I need to be? So when you say like that truth for yourself, or who do I need to be to move forward from it? It's key, right? It's key to know in this moment, what's true about this situation. And then where are the spaces that I can find my truth in this situation?
And to even like not make it as complicated as all of that. If I'm still standing, I have learned something.
Oh, yes.
And let me move on from here. Let me take this new information
that I'm still standing.
I need to use it in a way that's going to forward me, period. Because in the midst of just trauma and tragedy and so forth, when you find that you can still breathe and still get up and still have to think about what to think about after that, you have beyond, it's not about survival then, because survival was that next breath. It's about thriving now. From a blank canvas. Because there's only one way you can go from here.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All from the place of calling on God. Which I love, you said looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's that, what is that thing, inner thing that keeps me coming up over and over again? And for you, it was calling on God.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to you because I know that a lot of what you shared is going to help people get a deeper understanding of their relationship with God or their relationship with themselves inside of God. But it's going to propel some people forward out of some spaces that maybe they're feeling like they can't see a way out.
And you know what, the a sure path to curating, if you're interested, a relationship with God is curating that relationship with self. So you can see and experience the connection, the divinity in you.
Yes.
Having that relationship with yourself and really, really standing back and like taking in the greatness that it takes for you to exist authentically will create a divine relationship connection. At least I think so.
Listen, people won't know unless they try, right?
That's it.
People won't know unless they try. It's V. I call her V. I love her to life. V, tell the people how they can find you. Where can they connect with you? Learn more about what you do. Please share.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook under Valori Thomas. I am the CEO and founder of WOW Coaching and Consulting and the Chief Coaching Officer for IWCC. I'm on Instagram under WOW Talk 2021. My website is Valori Thomas.
Yes.
Listen,
listen, everybody out there, you found her, you saw her here on a DopeChick's spiritual journey.
Thank you.
Please connect with her. You all have heard her. You know how what she's capable of. Be sure to follow her and connect with her. And you also know what to do. Subscribe to Wake Up with Dr. Sunne-Ryse so you can get notifications about the next DopeChick's spiritual journey podcast coming out.
Come on now.
Any other inspirational information, but you subscribe, you like, you comment, you share, do all that good stuff. And y'all know what to do. I'll see you next time. Valori, I love you like cook food. I say it every week. I love you like cook food.
Thank you so much.
Deuces, good people. Deuces.